Yes, I would request Professor Anupama Hora, President of iSPELL, to start the event. Please, ma'am.
Has Professor Ghansham joined?
No, ma'am. Yet to join.
Let me call him. Just
Yes.
give me. Pramod, can I request you just make a call to Professor Ghansham that we are all waiting for him. My call he is not receiving. Well, Pramod, any response?
His phone is ringing. Call not connecting or receiving by.
Okay, Professor Prasanta Chakrabarti and Professor Ashok Sachdeva are here, our two vice presidents.
Yes, Prasanta sir is here.
And Professor Ashok Sachdeva ji?
No, yet to join.
He is not here. So, what you suggest we start and then
Yes, ma'am.
Professor Ghansham will join in between,
Yes.
and then we'll give him the opportunity to address
at the time of certificate presentation that we will have his remark. Now we should start. Please.
Well, friends, good evening and welcome you all to the 65th Literary Sahityik Satsang being organized by iSPELL, Indian Society for the Promotion of English Language and Literature since 5th September 2020. Just to give you a brief outline that how it started, so we keep telling our audience about it because it has a very interesting beginning. We know we had been We were engaged with our students, with our scholars, with the community, with our relations, facing a lot of ups and downs in academicians, creative writers, researchers together on a virtual platform to channelize their energies to have
Ma'am's voice is
Ma'am.
breaking, I guess.
to their disciplines, to research, to academics. And another might be not to make people move into depression during the worst times which we were going through. And it has almost completed 14 months. It's still in its infancy, but it has organized a number of seminars, conferences, workshops, FDPs in collaboration with many autonomous colleges, many universities, including Purnima University, from where we have our resource person today. And we also have 6 forums, and 2 or 3 are still in the pipeline, which would be started
Can't hear you, Anupama.
responsibility. It's our duty also that together we work to make this association a very charming platform where people feel free to come to discuss, to interact, and build up this community of academicians, researchers, and creative writers.
Ma'am, you're not audible. Your voice is.
He is very particular in joining, maybe due to some engagement, some pressing engagement. He has not been able to join, and he'll join shortly. And with these words, I also welcome our resource person for today, Professor Sudhi Rajiv. Welcome, ma'am, and Shamishta, our Master of Ceremonies, will be reading your bio note, but I'll say only 2 lines about you. I have a very old association with Professor Sudhi Rajiv, not only an academician and a researcher par excellence, but the beauty of her persona is her humility, a down-to-earth scholar. And I think not only myself, to be fortunate, we interact. Welcome, ma'am, from the core of my heart on behalf of iSPELL. And
Thank
our
you so
resource
much.
person, again, the bio note would be read by Shamishta, but my association with her is not very long, but there is a lot of depth and warmth from the time I have known her. It has become a very close bonding. Not only an academician and a researcher, but she is a poetess also. And that is her beauty, her calmness, her charm, and how last month, in the month of November, she was the coordinator of the events, and beautifully she organized different sessions of poetry with poets not only from India but from abroad also. Welcome, Shalini Yadav, madam, and thank you for accepting to be the chairperson. I also welcome Vice President Professor Prasanta Chakravarti, who has joined us from Tripura. Thank you, sir, for coming here. I think Professor Ashok Sachdeva ji, Vice President, has also joined by now. Welcome to you, sir, also, and to the joint secretaries, Professor Murli Krishnan, Professor Payal Datta, our treasurer, Mr. Rajesh ji, the region heads and the forum coordinators, Dr. Shamta, and I welcome all the members of the EC on this virtual platform for the 65th Literary Satsang. And before I introduce you all to the Master of Ceremonies, I would like to
Ma'am, you are not audible. Anupama ma'am, you are not audible.
And now coming to the Master of Ceremonies, our Master of Ceremonies today is a very charming young assistant professor working at the Narula Institute of Technology, West Bengal, with an experience of 12 years. And her areas of research are ELT, and she has around 20 publications in national and international journals and English communication to the BTech and management students to help them become industry ready. And she is the principal inventor of the patent entitled A Novel Technique for Betterment of Listening and Writing Skills, which was published on 11 June 2021. We are equally honored to have you, Shamishta, here with us as the Master of Ceremonies. And now it is over to you. Thank you so much. And I welcome all.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. I think ma'am has completed. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Sharmishta
Okay.
ma'am. Yes, please continue.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, Professor Bora, madam, for this wonderful introduction. And we all know that we have gathered today at the 65th SSS. Now, as ma'am has already stated, like what we iSPELlians literally did when there was the pandemic situation, and literally we, all of us, the entire teaching community was in the darkness. We iSPELlians, we took an initiative to create a platform where the erudite scholars, the researchers, the entire teaching fraternity all across the nation, they assembled together. And since then, we are continuing in this virtual platform. And iSPELL's motto, as we know that, as always has been stated by our Honorable General Secretary, Sir G.A. Sir, that I is small and we always talk about we. So iSPELL, as we know that it has a motto of bringing all the scholars all across, even the students together in this teaching learning platform. So once again, today is the Sunday and it's already 4:15, and we all have assembled at the 65th Sunday Sahityik Satsang. And today our topic is, it's a very interesting topic, mutilated bodies, but incorruptible soul, women's bodies as site of violence and resistance. And we have with us our honorable resource person, Professor Dr. Shudhi Rajiv. Welcome to you, ma'am, once again on this platform. Just to share a short bio note about Dr. Rajiv. She's a professor of English and soft skills at Purnima Group of Colleges, Jaipur. She was a former Dean, Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, and professor and head of the Department of English at Jai Narayan Vyas University, Jodhpur till 2016. She was a former professor, Department of Languages, Manipal University. She has a vast teaching and administrative experience. She has innumerable publications under her credit. Some of the publications are Forms of Black Consciousness, 1992, Understanding Diversity, 2010. She has written many articles, including one for the Encyclopedia of Book of Black Studies, Thousand Oaks, California, 2005. She has presented many papers in national and international conferences, seminars, and workshops. She has guided 11 research scholars. As per the honors and accolades goes, Dr. Rajiv has received Lifetime Achievement Award for English Studies, conferred by International Multidisciplinary Research Foundation, India, and IMRF Institute for Education and Research, Dubai chapter in 2019. She also received Canadian Studies Faculty Enrichment Fellowship by University of Toronto in 2012. She has received Fulbright Nehru Visiting Professor Fellowship by Harvard University in 2010, and many more. Besides this, she worked for the physically challenged and is member of various social and cultural organizations. She's a great enthusiast in drama, debate, and has performed in different programs. So welcome to you, ma'am, once again, and the floor is all yours now. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Shirmishta. Thank you for that introduction. Chairperson, Dr. Shalini Yadav, President of iSPELL, Dr. Anupama Vohra, Professor Prasanta, members of the executive, and dear friends. I feel privileged that I have been invited to talk to such an illustrious group, which is not even more than 36 months old, if I gathered that correctly. And in this short while, this is your 65th Sahityak Satsang. So congratulations on the milestones that you have achieved. And I indeed feel honored that I have been invited, and there are people who are still interested in listening every Sunday, though that's the one day that we have for ourselves. So having said that, the topic already has been, she has the MOC has told you that it is mutilated bodies, but incorruptible souls. Women's bodies as site of violence and resistance. People with power understand exactly one thing: violence. I open this with the quote from Chomsky. So violence against women is not a new phenomenon. It was inflicted on women from ages past in some form or the other. Violence implies the use of physical power and inflicting pain on those supposedly weak and inferior. One of the forms of violence is rape. It cuts across all boundaries of class, color, caste, creed, age, religion, and nations, as is the case with Bhamri Devi from India, as picturized in the film Bavandar, Sandstorm, and Mukhtar Mai from Pakistan in her memoir, In Name of Honor. And so in these books and the film, what we see is a pattern of exploitation and resistance. So my paper today would examine how, in spite of their mutilated bodies, in spite of being raped, their souls remain Incorruptible, and how they challenge patriarchal oppression, find a voice, offer resistance, and change not only themselves, but also the world around them. They stand up against the might of the powerful who think that sexual violence will silence them forever. Instead of being crushed, they emerge stronger and spread the message of resistance to women all over and convert the experience into something positive. Both of them refuse to be put down by harassment at the hands of doctors, police, and lawyers, and emerge as victors of violence. However, their cries die out in the face of the political and legal system which crushes them through sexism, chauvinism, and exploitation. The perpetrators of these crimes have wriggled out intact from law. Their screams of suffering echo through the corridors of history. Men and women predicate each other in the creation of life and its continuation. But once this balance gets tilted, the other undergoes an eclipse, as one notices in the case of Bhamri Devi and Mukhtar Mai. On either side of the border, India or Pakistan, these two women transcend the centuries-old notions of patriarchy backed up by religion, society, culture, and tradition. The echoes of their pleadings reverberate across geographical boundaries and raise a voice against the terrors of machismo. Two different media are used to bring the plight of these women to the forefront of social consciousness of India and Pakistan. Mukhtar's memoirs, In the Name of Honor, as told to Mary Cuny, were first published in French and were then translated into English by Linda Coverdale. The film Bhavandar, directed by Jagmohan Mundra, tells the story of Bhamri Devi from Bhateri village. Due to the disputes that arose between Jagmundra and Bhamri, he changed the names of the characters and village. In the film, her name has been changed to Samri Devi. The film deals with the frightening and shocking details which follow a rape. The entire procedure, from lodging of the FIR to the trial in the court, is instrumental in the re-victimization of Samri Devi. The story is told in a flashback, a narrative flashback by Amy, a Western researcher who comes to Jaipur to meet Samri. Mukhtar Mai is dragged in by Abdul Khalik and his cohorts to heal their wounded pride and hatred. Away they fling Mukhtar's armor of chastity, laying her enshrined dignity open to the invaders, who turn by turn rape her to restore the tribal pride by punishing her for her womanhood. The ambience is pregnant with silence, except for her screams for mercy in the name of the deaf Allah. His so-called agent, Abdul Razak, is conspicuous by his absence, seems to be an accomplice with the rapists to carry out the verdict of the Jirga. Jirga is the tribal council. And I quote, "This was the first time that the councillors of the Jirga themselves have fixed upon a gang rape as a means of what they call honor justice." With her chastity crushed, soul strangulated, and body mutilated, she is thrown out half naked, to be scrutinized by the villagers who vicariously feel their social pride reaffirmed. Mukhtar Mai is a victim of caste-based hatred. Violence becomes the means of establishing social superiority. Caste-based hatred continues to be a determining factor in social hierarchy, despite all claims of equality and justice. Whether it is Samri Devi or Mukhtar Mai, there echoes the same exploitative and aggressive voice of power that is universally vested in masculinity. Daboi, a remote tehsil of Rajasthan, became the site for an atrocity heinous enough to appall anyone. Samri Devi, a Sathin working under the Women Development Project run by the state government for women and children, was gang raped. It so happened that she informed the authorities about a child marriage slated to take place on an auspicious day in a Gurjar family. She therefore earned the ire of the upper caste Gurjars who were not able to digest the protest of a lower caste woman. In Bhavandar, Samri Devi and her husband were held down by men, and she was raped in quick succession by an elderly uncle and his nephew. The faces of these two men are seen in Bhavandar from the point of view of Samri Devi. She pleaded with them, especially Mangal Panda, who was a Brahmin and whose duty it was to show the right path to mankind. But he chose to remain deaf to her pleadings. Her resistance was silenced with brute power, and she was gagged with her own skirt and silenced. All this happened in full view of her husband, who was held captive by one of the Gurjars and the Brahmins. And the Brahmin, the wounded pride of the Gurjars, is supposedly healed and their social superiority reestablished. Samri has been punished for acting above her station. Mukhtar is made an easy prey of the Jirga's mode of justice, and Samri of passion for honor revenge. The pretexts for infliction are also masterly contrived. Mukhtar is punished for a younger brother's alleged attempt of raping Salma, the Mastoi girl of loose morals. It is shocking to note that the accused is only 12 years old. The actual cause lay in Mastoi's family's desire of owning their adjoining field. In Pakistan, the social hierarchy puts Gurjars lower than the Mastois. In Bhavandar, Samri Devi's rapists are Gurjars who blight her chastity out of revengeful hatred for a lower caste potter woman. Male domination and power over women is the usual motivation for sexual coercion. Mackinnon states, and I quote, "Rape is not primarily an act of violence, but a sexual act in a culture where sexuality itself is a form of power. Rape debilitates the mind, soul, and the body of a woman. As Germaine Greer has observed, unjustly, rape is one crime of violence which throws more shame on the victim than on the perpetrator. With their anguished conscience, Samri and Mukhtar are incapable of holding themselves in. Mukhtar even thinks of suicide, which comes as the only stereotyped recourse to a despoiled woman. She confesses, "I want to kill myself. That is what women in my situation do. I will swallow acid and die to put out forever the fire of shame that torments my family." Samri also undergoes shattering experiences that impel her to ask the whyness of her collapse. But she refuses to take the stigma against her after being subjected to subhuman treatment. Elaine O'Neill says, and I quote, "The theme of rape is almost never treated from the point of view of the victim, nor is the anguish of a woman pressured into sexual service, nor the distress of a woman bound sexually and emotionally by her own internal sense of powerlessness." The awareness of the inequality and injustice meted out to them impels them to assume a counter-hegemonic standpoint as a way of asserting their redefined identity. It is rape that makes Mukhtar Mai realize the full impact and magnitude of all the ills to which women are subjected. She understands how her miseries and abject condition spring from the wretched, powerless position to which hundreds of years of patriarchy has reduced them. The days she spends in isolation opens her mind to the need for women asserting themselves and breaking barriers to fight their cause. Samri too awakens to the need of being empowered. This awareness is common to both, and they find a body and I quote from Helen Six's, "write their own body." It fills them with indomitable self-confidence and emboldens them to live with the social shame, taunts, and boycott concomitant to such existence. Their decision to fight the culprits is fortunately backed up by the rock-solid support of their families, and the seeds of revolution find conducive soil. But they know that the journey is not going to be an easy one. It would involve shedding the superimposed values that stand in the way of their breaking free from the internalized beliefs of their being the other as relative to men. The stories of Samri and Mukhtar show what happens when the subaltern speaks. The journey commences on two levels, inward and outward. The former begins with introspective self-evaluation, in which Mukhtar sees herself as a product of the ethos of a community that confined her into a stereotyped role without any realization of her own identity and rights. Then an awakening dawns on her to enable her to resist the miscreant. She writes, "A surprising fit of anger saves me from that stupor," and further remarks, "Before, I had lived in absolute submission. Now, my rebellion will be equally relentless." Samri's training as Sathin had opened her mind. She spent time with her husband, talking to him and finding support. Death was a complete solace. But would she allow her tormentors to celebrate on her dead body? Would both her children ever forgive her, for they would live in perpetual shame? These stirrings soon culminate into a steely determination as Savri Devi's refrain conveys, I want justice. The rape of Savri Devi and Mukhtar Mai is the turning point in their exegesis of politics and psychology of the oppressed, marking a move from a defeated self-hate to dignity and self-respect. This movement against a sexist society gives them a positive female identity. Gayatri Spivak calls this kind of construction of identity strategic, that serves a scrupulously visible political interest. Both Savri and Mukhtaran knew that the fight was with wealthy and powerful people who had strong political connections. Savri wanted to file an FIR, but for that, she had to go through millions of procedures and hurdles. In one of her interviews with the director of Bhavandar, Bhamri, the protagonist of the true story, said that her actual rape began when she was made to run from pillar to post in a judicial system subverted by sexism, male chauvinism, feudalism, and political opportunism. First, she had to take a medical examination. Given the remoteness of the village, she had to travel to the nearest hospital to get herself examined. In the movie, the doctor is all set to look at her naked body, and when she insists for a female doctor, he makes a derogatory remark about her character, which is even more insulting than the incident. She had to finally go to Jaipur, the state capital, and was examined 52 hours after the incident, which proved detrimental to her case. Mukhtaran was also examined by her doctors 8 days after the incident. To overcome the shame of crime, her mother ordered that her clothes be washed immediately, which proved fatal in the judicial process. In both cases, the doctors were men who played their roles according to the rules of the patriarchy. The police also sides with the criminals, and they ask questions to them loaded with sexual innuendo, and they keep Savri's skirt for investigation. She is sent home wrapped in her husband's turban. The visuals of the film are suggestive of many things, and it is there is also a scene at the police station in the film where the police women appear as a menace, aping the worst in their male colleagues. Mukhtaran too was interrogated to be insulted. She, along with her father and brother, was confined for 3 long days in police custody. No report was written. Whatever doubts and fears I may feel, it's too late to back out now. Whether they are Mastoi, Gurjar, or Baluch, the men of the Punjab have no idea how unspeakably painful it is for a woman to have to talk about such an assault, even though I hadn't gone into detail in my statement to the policemen. They mutilated the facts in the FIR to help the culprits and got the thumbprints of Mukhtar on blank sheets. Mukhtar Mai opines, the tribal justice system at the heart of a jirga is rooted in ancestral custom, which can be incompatible with religion and law. Meanwhile, all kinds of social boycott, threats to withdraw the case, financial hardships go on intensifying the heat of suffering for Samvari. Even the judiciary reflects the patriarchal attitude of those in power. During the first hearing of the case, the 2 rapists were put in judicial custody while the 3 accomplices were set free. 5 judges were changed during the course of the trial. The judgment knocked her flat out when a decision was pronounced against her on the grounds, and I would like you to listen to, what the court said, that upper class people do not rape lower caste women, that the young do not rape a woman in the presence of the elders, that Samvari was more than 40 years of age and unattractive to merit attention, that she could not explain whose sperms were found on the skirt, that no Hindu husband would stand by and watch his wife being raped. The decision was not only biased but outrageous. In spite of the shocking judgment, Samvari Devi was determined to get justice. In the case of Mukhtar Mai, the Islamic laws posed even greater troubles, as she would require 4 male eyewitnesses to prove her accusations. On August 31, 2002, 6 men were condemned to death and others were set free. Her matter was taken to the Lahore High Court, where 5 out of the 6 already condemned were acquitted, and the one accused was sentenced to life imprisonment in place of death sentence. It was shocking, as it was the decision of an independent judiciary. She marched to the office of the Prime Minister of Pakistan and demanded sternly, and I quote, "I receive assurance that they are in prison or I do not leave your office." She got what she wanted. The culprits were arrested again. During the long struggle, she had become a different person. How I have changed. Here I am sitting courteously but stubbornly in the lovely armchair in front of this official, and only the army could get me out of here. The Supreme Court of Islamabad agreed after 2 days of hearing to reopen the case. Her fight goes on. I have fought for myself and for all the women victimized by violence in my country, says Mukhtaran. Samvari too fought for herself and for all the victims of rape in the country. We witnessed the emergence of a positive collective identity, which includes the ability to act effectively and influence people or decisions to achieve goals of bringing about a change. Both women emerged victorious and became icons in their own right in their respective countries. In Bhavandar, the social worker who was heading a Jaipur-based NGO and involved in helping Samvari right from the beginning had to go through a rough path of life. Her educated professor husband could not understand the importance of what she was doing, so the marriage came apart. It is the social worker's commitment that draws a huge number of women NGOs from the country. A mass rally was organized in front of the state secretariat at Jaipur. A Delhi-based NGO invited her to speak to the audience, where she was given a sum of rupees 1 lakh for contesting her case and a citation. After the decision, another rally was organized in which women from all over the country participated making it a historical event. This is juxtaposed in the film by the victory celebrations of the freed culprits. The MLA, Dhanraj Meena, plays an important role in setting the culprits free. He had earlier assured the Sathins that justice would be meted out to them. Though he reprimands the accused, his next question to them is whether they enjoyed the experience of rape. This incident brings out the complete insensitivity and sexism of the power structure. The film ends with the narration of the social worker. Samri is still fighting her battle for justice. She has transformed her personal tragedy into triumph. From a rape victim, she has become a rape activist. She still works as a Sathin, working for the empowerment of rural women. Victims of rape come to her seeking courage and inspiration. Jagmohan Munra, through his film Bhavandar, shows how the story had moved out of its social frame and captured the imagination of people all over the world. Though the movie ends here, in real life, Bhamri Devi's courage paved the way for a law against sexual harassment at workplace. It stipulated a mandatory complaint committee on sexual harassment at all workplaces and institutions. And you have the Vishakha judgment that was given by the courts this is what has happened with the story of Bhamri Devi. She has become a symbol of a new awakening amongst women in India for their rights. She's continuing her fight, staying in the same village. And I read an article a few days ago, which was published, I think, in March 2020, and it was there stated that after 2 decades, Bhamri is still waiting for justice from the courts. The same is the case of Mukhtar Mai. The media picked up the story and kept it alive for a long period. The newspapers featured my story so prominently over the past 4 days that the entire country knows me, including the government in Islamabad. The women of the country rose in favor of Mukhtar Mai. I have become the public face of a story that actually concerns thousands of Pakistani women. There was a cry of outrage, which was heard not only in the streets of Pakistan, but also in all organs of the government, including the judiciary. Such was the pressure of the sisters of Pakistan that the Justice Minister of Pakistan stated on British television that, and I quote, the verdict of the Jirga laid by Mastoi tribe should be considered an act of terrorism, that the tribal assembly itself was an illegal body, and that the guilty should be brought before an anti-terrorism court. Freed from her husband, childless, she could seek the honor of taking care of other people's children. She turned the spotlight on the conditions of women in her country, and she hopes that other women would follow her lead. She has opened a little a school for women so that they have the courage to chart their own path. She decided to open a school beneath the tree in Mirawala. Her little school was an effort to change the course of human nature by teaching the alphabet to a handful of little girls, letting this learning do its work from generation to generation. The little girls for the first time would be learning the same things that boys study. She also enrolled a few little boys to teach them to respect their companions, sisters, and neighbors. The government of Pakistan, international human rights organizations, NGOs of women and institutions all poured in to help. Though illiterate herself, she wanted to educate the citizens of Meerawala, especially the women. And this bears a testimony to her courage and determination. Despite the resistance of the government of Pakistan, she continues speaking bravely. President Pervez Musharraf was provoked to remark disgracefully that if you want to be rich and famous all over the world, get gang raped. Although he later refuted this remark by saying that he was misquoted. But such was the support for Mukhtar Mai, a peasant woman from a Punjabi village, that even the president of the country could not muzzle her. She was invited to the US, where she spoke bluntly of her shame and became a symbol of resistance all over the world. And she writes, I wasn't really an ardent feminist, although the media considered me one. I became one through experience because I'm a survivor, a simple woman in a world ruled by men. But despising men is not the way. The solution is to fight them as equals. She's a human rights activist, runs an ambulance service, a women's aid group in a village, and provides education to the villagers of Meerawala. In view of the above cited cases, one thing becomes clear, that their struggle was successful because of their unshaken self-confidence, family, and media support. Throughout the world, women are carving a niche for themselves and making a name for themselves in the hitherto male-dominated bastions. In today's knowledge-based society, there is a great chance to attain equality. Women can develop such skills and attitudes so as to change the whole gamut of life. But it is possible only through education, or else they would fail to realize the meaning of true democracy. The struggle of Samri and Mukhtaran arose out of a strong desire to change the society. They encourage sympathy with the suffering of the people in conjunction with a thirst for truth and a fanatic striving for reality. I'm quoting this from Lucas. They have fought with grit and determination and eventually emerged victorious in patriarchal societies. They will not let anyone stifle their freedom and suborn their humanity. Though both are still awaiting justice, they have provided resistance and a new spirit of hope in the world. There is much reason to believe that the possession of numbers, dedication, and creative intelligence of these two women have changed the ways in which the dominant culture sees them. Aided by means of communication, women can become organized across borders, transcend the boundaries of patriarchal hegemony, and become agents of change. Thus, they accomplish both human growth and re-education and can usher in a movement capable of freeing half the race of the world from subordination and bring us closer to our humanity. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. for your insightful talk. And while I was listening, I think the same thing happened with all our participants. It evoked pathos on one hand and enhanced our respect towards all the women who are harassed in this vicious circle of our society. It's also real, which ma'am has illustrated, and we find such issues of injustice to the women in our daily life. So I would now request our participants, if you have any questions. So ma'am is here to take up the questions. You can write it in the chat box as well as you can ask ma'am directly. So do we have any questions from the participants? You can please step forward. Okay, so in the meantime, let me take this opportunity to introduce the chairperson of our today's session, Dr. Shalini Yadav.
Anupama ma'am has raised her hand, it seems. Yeah.
Okay. Ma'am, Anupama ma'am, you want to make a comment, ma'am? Anupama ma'am?
Anupama, you are frozen, it seems.
Am I audible now?
Yeah,
yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes.
Yeah. I just want, it was wonderful listening to you, ma'am. A very lucid manner. You have touched upon a very sensitive issue. And it's not a question, but it's more or less of a query that these women and many others like them, their narratives have become powerful voices to generate awareness. And one thing which I would like to know from you is regarding the victims of rape.
Yes,
What actually is the role played by media?
Ma'am, as you will see, as I have also elucidated in my paper, that their voices became poignant and they were heard because it was media that supported them and took the case. The international organizations, women from the world traveled to Pakistan. The entire country came together for mass rally. And all this was possible because it was because of the support of media, because the incident was there in the papers, it was there in the TV, and it was then taken up and it brought together the collective effort of women and the NGOs to fight for their cause. And they were the ones who actually supported them. The government of Pakistan gave Mukhtar and Mai a certain amount of money as compensation.
Yes.
Then the international NGOs, they came, all because through the media, they could hear the voices of these two women. Of course, that is not to say that the decisions have been made by the courts. As I told you, Bhamri Devi still is waiting for judgment, but she refuses to bow down to other things. And similarly, the last that I know of Mukhtar Mai was in 2016 when she walked down the fashion runway during Pakistan's Fashion Week. And she said that she's a model of courage for all Pakistani women. But the decisions from the courts have still to come. I mean, of Mukhtar Mai, I know only until 2016, but that also was reported by the media. I read this, or I don't know if I saw this or I read about this. So all this has been played, and you can see this on the TV, you can see this on the newspapers, and then their voices have been amplified because of that support that they got. Otherwise, the voices would have just drowned down in their very villages, and no one else would have known that this has happened. So thanks to the media that stood in support of these women who changed the face of, especially for us Indians, the sexual harassment at workplace law that came, and for the Pakistani women, I mean, of course, the only thing that they read was the Quran, those who were illiterate and not educated, but then they have come a long way.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, so do we have any other questions? We don't have any other questions as of now, and it
No,
seems
there's a question
like
from KG Veena. Shamishta, there's a question
okay.
By Dr. KG Veena. You can read from the chat box.
Okay.
Wonderful deliberation, ma'am. Could this be related to the voice of Malala Yousafzai also?
Yes, ma'am.
Malala Yousafzai.
Malala Yousaf, ma'am, I think everything that women do, one small action that they take, it is actually for the entire womanhood. In fact, I would say it is for the entire humanity, because it is these women also, women who make men, listen to them. And just as I told you that Mukhtar has started educating boys, because they need to be tutored and they need to be told that no longer can they live a life of privileges and exploit women. And she has done a wonderful job of educating women and what she has done. So I think all of these are icons in their own rights, and they have changed the face of how women are treated and how they are looked at.
Okay, here we have another question from Srimati Kishore Patel, madam. Like, women are walking side by side with men. They are not less than men in any field. Yet, why are Indian societies male dominant?
Ma'am, if I could answer that question, I'm sure I would have changed the face of the country. But yes, the old patriarchal setup is so, they are so conditioned to think of themselves as the privileged. And not only that, I think the entire education system in our homes is to treat them as superior. And therefore, it is, if I use, the title of Peggy McIntosh, she writes that it is the invisible knapsack that these people carry. They don't know that they have the privileges. Peggy McIntosh is actually talking with reference to whiteness. She says that that we carry privileges, we are unaware of that. And we use them because our minds are so conditioned to using them. But then it is difficult for you to see the other person as one who's oppressed, one who's exploited. And at the same time, the mindset of women also is that, chalta hai, family, for the sake of the family, let us keep quiet. But I'm very happy that things are changing. And we have, I am a very die-hard optimist. So I think things have changed, but it will take us many, many more years. If I do see this change, there's another question there that, how can exploitation be stopped? So if I see that happening, this violence stopping in my own lifetime, I think it would have done its job. But I don't see anything like a complete erasure of violence in the next 20 years or so, because as more and more women are seen in public domain, they are seen in the workforce, men see them as threat, that what they were occupying earlier is now being occupied by women. And there is that that sense of I should say that jealousy, and because they have nothing else to do to show women down, they use violence. So when the mind opens, only then things can change. Slowly, people have started accepting that yes, women are also equal. But I think it is going to take another 25 years or so for the complete overhaul of the minds of men and society. And as also us too, because we also need to change. We also need to assert ourselves. We also need to understand and see ourselves as human beings. So it's going to be a combined effort of all of us put together to bring about a change. I always close, things on subaltern literature. Okay, there's another question. Ma'am, it's a hard task to change. Let me open the question. I could see it. Let me open. What is the question, ma'am? I can't open the chat box.
Ma'am, I'm reading it out for you. I
Yeah.
guess it's not a question, it's a statement which has been made. It is a hard task to change the mindset of male and his dominance, ma'am. However, we are empowered, yet there is a lost identity, ma'am. So it has been put forward by Indrani, ma'am.
Yes, I think so, ma'am, because let us not blame only men all alone, because I think we are also responsible, because our conditioning is such that our first response is, let us buy peace. And when we want to buy peace, we compromise on many things. But slowly, I'm sure, slowly, I can see the change. The generation before me had a long fight. My generation laid down the road for that change. And I think the change is coming, but it is coming very, very slowly. But it will come. It will come. All good things will happen, I'm sure, especially in our country. And men will learn to accept women. I can see that change in my own home. My husband never touched anything in the home, but my children, they do everything with their wives, because their wives are working, they support them, they go shopping, they look after the kids. So I think that slowly that change is setting in, but it is going to change the mindsets of the entire society. It's going to take a lot of time, but it will, rest assured, it is going to happen, especially in the lifetimes of the young people.
Ma'am, can we say that we need to educate men to live with educated women? We have not taught them to live with educated women. We have educated our women folk, but then the men have yet to be educated to live with these educated women. That's
Yes,
what I feel, ma'am.
But I was about to close, and I did say that I close on this, that the day we start educating our boys like we educate our girls, that is the time that society is going to change. I was only yesterday watching this movie, Nirja. And the concluding sentence there was, all of you have seen it. It is the story of Nirja Bhanot, the air hostess who saved everyone, a 23-year-old girl. And her mother says that no one had taught her to do all that, but she learned on her own. She was asked, ki apne bhai ki rakhi bandho tum. But no one ever thought that she could take on that role. So the role models are there. We need to work our way to change the society.
Thank you so much, ma'am, once again. Now I take this opportunity to introduce our honorable chairperson of the session, Dr. Shalini Yadav, who is an illustrious member of iSPELL India, and she holds a PhD in post-colonial literature and MPhil in English language teaching from University of Rajasthan. She has been teaching from past 15 years. She has participated and presented papers in many conferences. She has edited and authored 9 books as of now. Her short stories and poems have been published in numerous peer-reviewed journals and anthologies. Moreover, she's a member of various virtual poetry societies. She's also a reviewer of various qualitative international journal of different countries. So I would request our honorable chairperson of the session to kindly give away the concluding remarks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sharmista. Yeah, first of all, good evening to everybody. And I thank Anupma ma'am, Shyam sir, and everybody in iSPELL to give me this chance to chair this session. And what I feel that what ma'am has spoken today, that is really the kind of lecture I was expecting from a long time and to be taken in iSPELL platform. And this is really a good one, which Anupma ma'am initiated and Sudhi ma'am deliberated it in a very good way. And the examples, the illustration she took, those are also very good, of Bhavri Devi's movie Bhavanda, and another one, Mukhtar Mai's memoir. So these two are really very good examples which ma'am has taken to express about that what kind of sexual violence women are suffering in our country and in another countries also, and how ma'am started it saying that violence is not new and it has been implied on women, and one of the form is their rape also. So women are always women bodies are always treated as battlefields. They are the most easiest target and victims of violence worldwide, wherever you go, especially sexual violence. If we say, it can be defined as gender-based violence also, and sexual violence against women has been prevailing in all the countries, and it is still going on. Either you take the example of Pakistan or India or any other country like Syria or any other country where riots and wars happen frequently. And during those wars and battles, these kind of even if we take the example of our history, Rajas, Maharajas, at that time also, women were the most sufferer one. So same kind of stories ma'am has taken, and I really listened it very carefully, and I really felt means shattered via the sufferings and pains, how she deliberated and how she expressed about those. And at the same time, ma'am talked about that media and family supported them a lot. And at the same time, ma'am talked about that how leaders and politicians and advocates of a country, they treat these kind of incidents in a different way. How they say that women are means did you enjoy the experience? So this is really we can say that something cannot be accepted as women. Before some time, when mass rape of Bosnian Muslim women happened, so I was just reading about that, and I was correlating these experiences with those experiences, how 20,000, more than 20,000 to 50,000 women suffered due to that all. So when we are talking about one women case, so there are many more which whose voices are not still expressed. Might be Bhavri Devi and Mukhtar Mai got the chance that via these text and movie, they got the chance to express about their stories. Even they got the support of media, even they got the support of family. But there are women that who did not even get the support, and 50% of them did not even survive these all things. So this is what I would like to say, that this topic is really good, which ma'am has taken here, and denying the subjectivity of women and the kind of fundamental objectification has been done in the patriarchal society of men related to women. So that is really means there is a need of hour to think about these all things. And if we all are doing workshops, conferences, seminars, everything is going on, but still, if we take the example from history and if we take the example of current times, the situation has not been changed much. Still, we need to educate people. The same thing like Harpreet ma'am and Sudhi ma'am, how they concluded it at the end, that boys of our societies need to be educated, re-educated well, in terms of rights of equality, and in terms of treating women with treating women with respect, and they need to be treated with their integrity, chastity. These all things are really, they need to be given their autonomous rights, and they need not to be treated just as bodies, but they need to be treated as soul with bodies. So this is all which ma'am has already explained via these two examples, one of movie and one of the text, literary text. Moreover, I would like to say here, I would like to conclude it. I will not take much time. I would like to conclude it with one of my poem, dedicating all the women present over here. This poem has been translated into English also, and here I am taking it in Hindi. O प्रिय, आदम ईव के काल से डिजिटल युग तक मानव जाति प्रेरित हुई साक्षरता के जन्म से, जहां प्रथाएं परिवर्तित हुई, आविष्कार उन्नत हुए, सिद्धांत निर्मित हुए, नियम निश्चित हुए, दार्शनिक उत्पन्न हुए, साहित्यकार उत्कृष्ट हुए, समानता घोषित हुई, तानाशाही धराशायी हुई, पूंजीवाद उभरता गया, उद्योगवाद पनपता गया, श्रेणीवाद प्रबल हुआ, भ्रष्टाचार हत्थे चढ़ा, आतंकवाद अनवरत बढ़ा, आम जनता निराश हुई, सांप्रदायिकता खामोश हुई, फिर भी पुरुष की मनोवृत्ति नहीं बदली। जो एक स्त्री के दिल को धोखा देता है, उसकी देह से स्वयं का मनोरंजन करके। ओ प्रिय, अपना अंतर्मन कहो, क्या तुम्हारी रूह चाहती है तुम भोज में परोसी जाओ एक आकर्षक मिठाई की तरह, सबकी क्षुधा का भोज्य बनकर। ओ प्रिय, अपना अंतर्मन कहो, क्या तुम्हारी रूह चाहती है तुम प्रदर्शनी में रखी जाओ एक सजावटी गुड़िया की तरह, पुरुष के अहंकार को बढ़ाकर। ओ प्रिय, अपना अंतर्मन कहो, क्या तुम्हारी रूह चाहती है तुम व्यवसाय में उतारी जाओ एक घमंडी उद्यमी की एक छोटी सी वस्तु बनकर, सांसारिक दौलत पाने की खातिर। ओ प्रिय, अपना अंतर्मन कहो, क्या तुम्हारी रूह चाहती है तुम प्रेक्षित की जाओ एक भड़कीली मॉडल की तरह, त्वचा द्वारा विज्ञापित कर। ओ प्रिय, स्वयं को पहचानो, तुम एक स्त्री हो, जीवनदायिनी हो, ना कि एक व्यावसायिक उत्पाद हो, ना केवल शरीर हो जिसका उपभोग किया जाए और सड़ने और मरने को फेंक दिया जाए। ओ प्रिय, किसी को अनुमति मत दो तुम्हें शोषित करने की, तुम्हें पराजित करने की। यद्यपि तुम्हारे साथ धोखे हुए हैं, तुम्हारे साथ अत्याचार हुए हैं, आंसुओं ने तुम्हें पिघला दिया है, लेकिन फिर भी तुम्हारा दर्द ही तुम्हें शक्ति देगा और तुम्हें विजय दिलाएगा। So this I would like to dedicate all women present over here, and I would say that this lecture was awesome, and I would like to conclude it here only. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Sudhi ma'am. Thank you, Anupama ma'am, for giving me this chance.
Thank you, Shalini ma'am, Sharmishta ma'am, Anupama ma'am, and I can see Prasanta sir there, and all members, Ghanshyam ji if he is there, Ashok ji if he is
We
there.
are missing Ghanshyam sir today.
Yeah, and everyone who has given the time to listen to whatever I had in my mind, whatever I wanted to share, and I hope I have made the case for these two women, as also for all the women who are present and all the men especially who are present.
Thank you, ma'am. And it really touched our heart. And once when the poem by Shalini ma'am was recited, and it really brought tears into our eyes. Thank you so much, ma'am. Both Professor Shudhi ma'am as well as Dr. Shalini Yadav ma'am. Now I would request our Honorable Vice President of iSPELL India, Professor Prashanto Chakraborty sir, to kindly do the honor of presenting the certificate to the resource person. Over to you, sir. Prashanto sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you, Dr. Prasanta?
Fine, ma'am. Fine, ma'am.
Good to see you.
I was
Good to see
listening
you
to
once
your
again.
lecture. I was listening to your lecture, spellbound, actually.
Thank you, sir.
It was so beautiful a lecture.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Okay,
you.
Yeah. Thank you. So the first certificate goes to Professor Shudhi Raju because
Thank
she
you,
was the
sir.
speaker in the occasion and she really did her best delivering a very good lecture. So we are very much thankful to ma'am. So,
Thank you, sir.
please take our certificate.
Thank you. Thank you.
The next certificate goes to our chairperson, Dr. Shalini Jadhav. Beautiful poem, ma'am. You have written a very beautiful poem, and really, it's it needs to be appreciated by everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am,
sir.
again.
Thank you, sir. I'm humbled and honored by your
Yeah,
appreciation.
really beautiful. So the certificate goes to ma'am, so Dr. Shalini Jadhav. Please accept our certificate.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Shalini, lovely poem.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
So the last certificate goes to our Master of Ceremonies, who is an expert in this area. He has done a very beautiful job throughout her. You see, whenever we call her, she is ready to have our helping hand for us, and she
Thank
did
you, sir.
very good as a Master of Ceremonies. So the certificate goes to Miss Sharmishta Basu. So please accept our certificate.
Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you.
It's my pleasure.
Mm.
So we have come to the end of the highly enlightening session. And as the protocol goes, so I would just like to propose the vote of thanks on behalf of iSPELL India. At first, I would like to once again thank Professor Dr. Shudhi Rajiv for her valuable presence in today's e-platform and enlightening all the participants. I would also take the opportunities. Thank you, ma'am. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank all the dignitaries of iSPELL India. Special note of thanks to our honorable coordinator, Professor Anupama Bora, ma'am. I also take this opportunity to thank Dr. Shalini Yadav, the chairperson of today's session, for enriching us with the concluding remarks. Thank you, ma'am. I take this proud privilege to thank Professor Prashanta Chakraborty, sir, Vice President of iSPELL India. Finally, I take this privilege to pay sincere gratitude to the pilot of iSPELL, our very own Professor Ghanshyam sir, although he is not present in this e-platform today, but his presence is always with us, I do believe. And last but not the least, I take this opportunity to thank heartily all the participants who have joined us in the Zoom platform, as well as all the viewers who are watching us live on the YouTube platform. Thank you all. So we can conclude with the note that today we had an enriching session, and again in the next week we'll be meeting in the same time in the 66th SSS. So till then, all of you stay safe. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Sharmishta. I was there right from the beginning till the end.
Thank you,
Okay.
Shalini.
So, sir,
Prasanta, sir, and
although
all
we
our
have,
viewers.
sir, although we have concluded, can we
No.
at least two
I
words
won't
from
go
you?
against the rules. Thank you very much. I was there right from the beginning till end. So thank you very much.